Welcome back to this edition of Old Truth Ministries podcast. Today is Sunday, October 31st, 2021, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Today's topic is going to be all about faith. So grab that coffee, sit back, relax, and here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about faith. Now, the Webster's Dictionary defines faith as a complete trust or confidence in someone or something. But if you look in Hebrews 11, we get a much better definition. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Now, we'll come back to that later. Now, the word faith is used 247 times in the Bible, and that's not including its variations such as faithful and faithfully, etc., which would bring the total up to about 360 times. And Jesus himself uses the word faith in one form or another more than 34 times. True faith is faith without question, trust without doubt. Now, what's the big deal about faith? Faith can heal your body. In Matthew, if we read chapter 9, verse 20 through 22, we read, "And suddenly a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years came from behind and touched the hem of his garment," talking about Jesus. "For she said to herself, 'If only I may touch his garment, I shall be made well.' But Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, 'Be of good cheer, daughter. Your faith has made you well.' And the woman was made well from that very hour." In Acts chapter 14, verse 8 through 10, it says, "In Lystra a certain man without strength in his feet was sitting, a cripple from his mother's womb, who had never walked. This man heard Paul speaking. Paul, observing him intently, and seeing that he had faith to be healed, said with a loud voice, 'Stand up straight on your feet, and leap and walk.'" Now, faith can heal your body. Now, I'm not talking about faith healers, anything like that. But faith can heal your body if it is in God's will. Faith can also heal your spirit. Acts chapter 15, verse 8 through 9, it says, "So God, who knows the heart, acknowledged them by giving them the Holy Spirit, just as he did to us, and made no distinction between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith." Now, us being Jews and them being Gentiles. Acts 26, verse 17 through 18, it says, "I will deliver you from the Jewish people, as well as from the Gentiles, to whom I now send you, to open their eyes, in order to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan to God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among those who are sanctified by faith in me." So, faith can do many things. That's to the body, to the spirit, but faith can also protect you from the devil himself. Ephesians 6, we learn about the armor of God. But what does it say about faith? Ephesians 6:16 says, "Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one." Now, faith is your shield, not your helmet, not your spear, your shield. Faith is something you are to carry with you always. It can't slip out of your hand in battle, because it is strapped to you. It is part of you. It moves with you. When the devil is throwing all these things at you, you throw up your shield of faith and say, "Not today, Satan." That shield of faith is sanctified by the blood of Christ. Satan can't get through that. Nothing can. Now, true faith, solid faith. Now, I'm not telling you that when you throw up that shield of faith that the devil is going to tuck its tail and run. No, quite the opposite. The devil may have been God's most beautiful angel, but apparently he wasn't his smartest, because the devil thinks that he can break through that shield easily. And so he will try and try, but you have to stand strong. Polish that shield in the Word every day. Repair any dents with prayer, and keep it strong and always with you and always ready. Now, I know some of you are saying, "I have a strong faith, so I know he must be preaching to those other people." You tell him, preacher. Well, let's test that. If you're sitting down, I want you to stand up. Go ahead, stand up. Okay, now sit back down. Now, I'm willing to say that not a single one of you questioned whether that chair was going to collapse when you sat in it, did you? Of course not. We don't even think about that. That thought never even entered your mind, did it? Good. You had faith in that chair without even thinking about it. Now, I want you to stand up again. Go ahead, stand up again. This time, I want you to move a few steps to the left or to the right so that the chair is not behind you anymore. Now, you there? Chair's not behind you, right? Good. Now I want you to sit down and use your faith and know that God is going to move that chair back under you so you don't hurt yourself. I'll wait. Go ahead. Now, you all second guessed that one, didn't you? You who said you had strong faith just showed that you have more faith in a chair than in God. It's okay, because that just means you're like the rest of us after all. We have faith in God for some things, but not everything, and that's where we fail. Myself included. God can do anything, and we can do anything if only our faith is pure and strong. We're to live by faith. Romans 1:17 tells us, "For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith." Now, does this mean we're to leave the big things to God while we deal with all the little things that life may give us? Or does it mean that we let God take care of all the little things while we worry about the big things because we don't want to bother him? No. It says we are to live by faith. What does that mean? That means we trust God with all things. We're to put our lives in God's hands. Trust me, he's got this. Now, as I'm preaching to you, I'm also preaching to myself too. God already told me that in this message. God already told me that this message is for me as well. When you worry about the things, that is a lack of faith. Don't worry. We all do it. Sometimes I tend to worry about the little things and not worry about the big things. I don't know why. I just do. And God is working with me on that, to have faith in all things. So let me tell you a little story. Some years ago, I had lost my job and neither my wife or myself were working. We honestly did not know where our next meal was coming from. It was that bad, and my wife was freaking out. Not just for us, but because we had a young daughter too. I told her, "Don't worry, God will provide." Now keep in mind, this was several years before I was first called to the ministry, and I was by no means a model Christian, but I believed and trusted in God. My wife was like, "How can you be so calm?" Some expletives were removed. We have no food and a baby. I said, "Because I know." Now first, I should clarify that no one, and I mean not a single person, knew we were in that situation. We were too private and too embarrassed. Well, not 5 minutes passed since my wife said those words, and there was a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there stood her aunt with 2 bags of groceries in her arms saying, "Something told me y'all might need this, so I went shopping for y'all." I'm pretty sure I heard my wife's jaw hit the porch. Well, needless to say, she never doubted my faith again, lol. But, by the same token, I can misplace my favorite pen and be almost positive somebody broke into my house, and all they took was that pen. I'm telling you, God is working on me. Now, Matthew chapter 6, verse 28 through 34 tells us a similar story. It says, "So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Now if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore do not worry, saying, What shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. I can vouch for these verses. God did know that we needed food and had it show up at our door. When? Did it show up when we thought the time was right? Did it show up before we started to worry about it? No. It showed up when it glorified God. It showed up when we would be able to discern that it came from God, and my wife's aunt was only the delivery person. That's when it comes. But rest assured, I knew it was coming. Kind of like the pen burglar, but I digress. Lose faith, and you will fail. Even the disciples who were right there witnessing Jesus' miracles had trouble with their faith. Matthew 14, 22 through 31 says, Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. I always love that word, contrary. It's a good way of putting it. Now, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a ghost! And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. So he said, Come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink, and he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, O ye of little faith, why did you doubt? Now, I know we've all been in those situations where we kind of lose our faith a little bit, and it feels like we start to drown. We start to drown in a sea of worry, in a sea of troubles, in a sea of sadness. If only we had not taken our eyes off of Jesus, off of God, we would still be walking over those troubles instead of sinking in them. So you've got to keep your faith through the hard times, even when the devil or people of this world are attacking you. And trust me, God will bring you through it. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 10 through 11 says, But have you carefully followed my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, love, perseverance, persecutions, afflictions, which happened to me at Antioch, or at Iconium, or Lystra? What persecutions I endured, and all of them the Lord delivered me. 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I kept the faith. Now remember, earlier when I said I would come back to the Hebrew definition of faith, well, the part I'm talking about is the evidence of things not seen. Let's take that a bit further and read in the next verse, Hebrews 11:2. It says, For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. Now, this tells us that your faith can bring salvation to other people. By seeing your faith in God, others began to get drawn to the Word and to God through you and what they see of your faith. Just by living in faith, you are a walking testimony. In Corinthians 7:4, we get this example. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified or made holy by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean, but now they are holy. So this tells us that the believing wife has the ability to sanctify or make holy or save the husband, and vice versa. So if you are living a clean life, if your faith is visible, then you're living a good testimony. Hebrews 11 is full of examples of people living by faith. We read by faith Abel, by faith Enoch, by faith Noah, by faith Abraham and Sarah, by faith Isaac, by faith Jacob, by faith Moses, and so on. All of these people accomplished great things through faith. Now, not only be a person who lives by faith, but be a faithful person. Meaning, be a person worthy of trust. In your daily life, let your yeses be yeses. Never say you're going to do something and not do it. Let your word be your bond. In your relationships, be faithful. Never give your spouse a reason to doubt you or to not trust you. Trust is the basic building block of a good and healthy relationship. And when it's gone, so is the relationship. Be someone everyone else can have faith in. Be someone that everyone can trust. They know when you say something, you mean it, and you're going to do it. But always remember what James 2:14-17 tells us. It says, "What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith, but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Depart in peace, be warm and filled,' but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also by faith itself, if it does not have works, it is dead." In other words, if somebody comes to your door and says, "I need food, can you feed me?" and you say, "Go away and you will find food, I assure you," that's not faith, and that's not the Christian way, and that's not doing what you should do. If they come to your door begging for food, help them out, give them food, and have faith yours will be replenished. That's true faith, and that's true faith through works. If you have faith, you can't see me here, but I'm doing air quotes, air quote faith, but do not show it by the things you do, you don't have true faith at all. Verse 22 of this says, talking about Abraham, it says, "Do you see the faith, that faith it was working together with his works, and by works faith was made perfect?" And verse 24 tells us, "You see then that a man is justified by works and not by faith only." And finally in verse 26 it says, "For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also." So think of faith as the spirit and works as the body. The spirit makes the body move, as faith should make the works manifest. Faith must work. It must produce, and faith must be visible. Now, we see a lot of people in the world today that claim to have faith, but they definitely don't have the works. Or they're definitely not showing that they are Christians. You've got people that see the wrong in the world and say nothing, or go along with it just to be politically correct. People, faith makes you stand strong. Faith makes you stand up for what you believe. Faith makes you speak the truth even if it is not politically correct. Let me say that again. Faith makes you speak the truth even if it is not politically correct. I'll let that sink in for a minute. That means a Christian has never been politically correct. As a Christian, you were supposed to be spiritually correct. Spiritually correct far outweighs political correctness. Your faith shows the world that you are a child of God, unashamed and unapologetic. So my question to you in closing is, who does your faith show that you are? Well, I hope that you enjoyed today's message. I learned a little bit. God gave me a message. I'm hoping he gave you one as well. My dog even tried to give you a little bit of message. I think for the last two recordings, you've heard him shake and his collar kind of jingle, but that's what that is. That's my dog in the background. I do these messages at home after everyone's asleep. That's why I don't tend to get too loud with it. But anyway, I know I missed last week's message, and I apologize for that, but life did get in the way. I promise that will not happen again. I will make sure of it. But anyway, I hope that you were blessed by this message. I hope that you have a great day, a great week. May God watch over you and protect you. Bye bye.